Hi, my name is Josh, and I'm a business junkie. I love sales, marketing, management, anything to do with business. If you ask anybody who knows me, they're going to say, he just talks about business stuff. Well, and family stuff too. But they know that I love business. But I wasn't always like that. In fact, I have an engineering degree, which is not business. We're pretty full with courses over there, so we don't get to venture over here very often. And it's a shame, but that's just the way it is. For a big piece of my life, things like math and designing widgets were all I really thought about. And then I realized that there is more to life than designing widgets. There's this whole thing called business. And I learned that when I got a job. And I wondered where my paycheck came from. And it comes from business. Nothing happens until a sale is made. Right? We all learn that in business school. In engineering school, we don't learn that. We learn to design a better widget, make it more efficient, make it cooler. Actually, the designer people do that. We just make it work. I had some inspirational people along the way, and for me, business doesn't come naturally. For me, it was something I had to learn. And I had some people along the way that said, if you want to learn business and you want to change and grow and improve, you can only do that in a couple different ways. You can do that with the people that you surround yourself with and the books that you want to read. And those were things that, at first I thought, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But, so what I want to do today is show you some of the books that I've read and the things that have influenced me, and talk about some of the lessons that I've learned from a lot of the great people that I've been around over the course of my life. And I call it tips for success. And you're probably thinking, yeah, we've heard a lot of these, and I don't have, because the more tips you can have, the better off you are. And here in a month or so, many of you are going to be graduating. And you're going to get that chance to throw that hat up in the air, and then scramble to find your hat again. It doesn't matter. I think you turn it and back in. All right. We'll keep it. Okay. And graduation's super cool because you get this diploma. Sometimes you have to still take a couple extra courses, but that only happens to some people. Yeah, I know. And you get that diploma, and you're really excited because you think, my brain is full. I don't have to do a whole bunch of learning anymore. I can just, take a little time and watch the game and not have to worry about homework. I can enjoy dinner with my girlfriend or boyfriend or spouse or partner or friends because I don't have a group project that I'm working on. This is awesome. I'm done learning. Well, here's the deal. There's a little trick, and if you flip over your diploma on the back, it's really, really small print. In fact, you really need an electron microscope to find it. There are these words. And it's kind of a cool joke, right? You're like, wait, what? So before it was fake? Yeah, because you were paying for it. And the cool part about the real learning, two things. One, chances are you're going to get paid to learn. That's all right. And number two, the books are way cheaper. Okay? Almost everything I'm going to show you today is either free or $10-ish. You can deal with that, right? And so now the real learning begins. And again, at first you're going to think, gosh, darn it, I've got to do a whole bunch of learning again. Well, it's a lot more fun because it's super impactful on your life. It will make a big difference in your life. The learning that you do after graduation is what will set you apart, and is what will make you really, really happy. That's what will make you successful. When you actually do it. Okay? So, start now. So, if you take nothing else away from today's lecture, and if you have a piece of paper or a digital camera where you can take a picture of this, buy this book. I think you can buy it used on Amazon for $8. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think it's $12.99 on the Kindle. If your neighbor's not looking, it's free. If you don't already have this book, get it. It really is How to Win Friends and Influence People, which it turns out is really, really important in life. Because you might be really good at doing SWOT analysis. You might be really good at doing integrated marketing. But if you don't know how to make friends and influence people, you're in big trouble. You will succeed at a much higher level if you can do those things. Now, this isn't a book that you should just read once and, put in the bookshelf like Twilight or something like that. I haven't read that book. I read the series. Just kidding. Like, no, he's not. You'll never know. It's one of those books that you want to continually refer to. And it's actually one of those books where when you have a baby, they give you this diaper bag. And in the diaper bag are some diapers, some wipes, some of that diaper rash ointment. It's not lotion. And instead, what they ought to do is give you this book. This is the book that should be assigned to humans when they're born. It's just that good. It's really, really good. So check it out. Is anybody afraid of the word influence? Influencing people? Does that make anybody freak out a little bit? Or maybe like, influence? Do I really want to do that? It feels like you're twisting somebody's arm. Well, one of the big tips that you can get out of that book is being persuasive. Now, persuasive is a word that freaks people out. Oh, you're really persuasive. Because we tend to use it incorrectly. We tend to use it as persuasive means that you're twisting somebody's arm into something, that you're convincing of them of something that they don't want to be convinced of. But you're actually confusing that with a word called manipulation, which is persuasive's evil twin. Manipulation is completely different. Persuasion is helping people make a decision that benefits them first. Then maybe, if you're lucky, you benefit from being the persuader. That's really important. Helping someone make a decision that will benefit them. Completely different than manipulation, right? Manipulation is helping somebody make a decision that will help me. That's manipulation, and I don't really care about that. But persuasion has tons of care and helpfulness, and it's a big component of success, huge component of success. And so, if you can, be a persuader. Now, if we're talking about success, success is different than everybody. If we ask all of the folks in this room what success is like something different for everybody. Right? That's just the way it is. Now, we can generalize some things, right? Some people, success is like a big pile of money. That's one measure of success for folks. That's cool. It's an easy way to measure it, right? Except then you got to worry about how many zeros it is. But it's a measure. The other people, success is like world peace. You know? And there are those things are just, they're more noble. And they're just as important. And to other people, success is like it's a G6. I thought it was a Pontiac G6 for a long time, but apparently that's not. All depends on how you define it. But actually, the best definition of success comes from Earl Nightingale. And a long, long time ago, Earl Nightingale did a radio presentation, an audio presentation called The Stranger's Secret. And in The Stranger's Secret, he defines success in probably the best terms I've ever heard. He defines success as the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Whoa, that is success, right? That is the best definition of success you could ever come up with. Because no matter what you're doing, if you're progressively realizing a worthy ideal, you're doing it right. You are achieving success. If you break that apart into its components, all of those things are really meaningful and important. Now you can do that on your own. To listen to, because it's the recording of a record. So they pause in the middle, like when you're going to flip the record. Everybody here nobody knows what a record is. I'll stop. I've got all kinds of references later that will make no sense to you either because there's but we'll cover this later. But he covers another area that is really, really important to me. If you've taken my class, you know that this is probably the thing that is most important to me, and that is rekindling your creativity. Because creativity will set you apart. Earl Nightingale was talking about how what we tend to do is conform to the masses, which is exactly the wrong thing to do. Because conforming to the masses makes you just like everybody else. How do you get a job? How do you get a mate? How do you succeed if you're just like everybody else? Well, it's really, really difficult, it turns out. But if you're creative and you stand apart, while that's very difficult, it's very, very helpful to succeed. Okay? So, I want you to think a little bit about when you were most creative. When was that? Chances are it wasn't in a classroom like this, it was in a classroom like this. All right? Kindergarten. Everybody is super creative in kindergarten. Kindergartners are the greatest. You can ask them any question and they have an answer for it. You can ask them to draw stuff, they'll draw it. Doesn't matter what you think it should be. In their mind, they have their own idea. And the cool part about it is, they're not afraid to show you. Right? Here it is. This is what it is. This is a drawing of, a screen that goes into the air. And everybody here's like, oh, that can't really happen. This is a drawing by my daughter Grace. And my daughter Grace is super creative. She is just an amazing artist, and she's really creative, and her mind works in a cool way. This was in kindergarten, right? The stream's going up into the air, and fish are going in. It makes total sense, right? To a parent and to a kindergartner, it makes sense. To all of you, you're like, no, that's not reality. I mean, we framed this picture. This is an important picture in our house. But it shows that if we were to ask Grace to do it again today, now that she's in 4th grade, it wouldn't be the same. The stream would be on the ground. And on one hand, that's good because you should realize maybe, I guess, that the stream's actually on the ground. This is called a waterfall. But on the other hand, it's kind of sad, right? Because we said you need to conform. You need to conform. Stop thinking in all these crazy ways with your art, your crazy art. And start conforming to reality. And so we start to take creativity away. We start at about 2nd grade, I think is the grade. And it's part of the curriculum. Move creativity. And then we continue to do it. And I'm a college assistant lecturer, actually. I'm not really a professor. We'll play one on TV. And that's what we do. We work on conformity. Memos should look like this. And here's exactly how you should do it. Follow this process. Do not vary. Ooh, don't do it. What will happen? The world will explode? No. Actually, great things will happen. Creativity is something that you need to reharness. Creativity is something that you need to get better at. And remember what it's like to be a kindergartner. Every new customer I have earned is because I stood apart from the other people who were trying to get that customer. I didn't leave the boring voicemails. I didn't send ridiculous emails. I stepped outside of that and then helped them. Right? We've got to step outside of it, or you'll never get that opportunity. This freaks me out, by the way. This makes me afraid. But the thing with creativity is we fear failure, right? I don't want to do anything on this assignment that is outside of the norm because I don't want to get a bad grade, right? I don't want to do anything that might make my mate say, what is wrong with you? Why are you doing that? We don't want to do that. It's outside of the norm. This is the way I do things. Well, we're afraid of failure. We're afraid that that person won't like us. We're afraid that the teacher will fail us. We're afraid of all of these things. And you know where the fear comes in? It's just in our mind. Most of the time, this person has little fear of failure because they have already crashed a gazillion times. They have. I've broken 27 bones. Like, but you only have 26. I know, I broke down twice. No, I'm not a doctor. Don't write that down. He said we only have 26 bones. But this person doesn't fear failure. Because if you fear failure, you can't be this person, right? If you fear failure, you don't even get on the motorcycle to begin with. In fact, you don't even go into a motorcycle shop. I fear buying stuff, which is why I don't go into a motorcycle shop. And no, I'll leave with one. I don't want to do that. My kids won't want that. Okay? But this person has no fear of failure. This person sees failure differently than a lot of people. You don't just do this. You wipe out a bunch. This person doesn't see failure like you. This person sees failure as a step. Read a book by John Maxwell. You could read any book by John Maxwell and it's going to be great. This is a really good one because it's all about taking the things that we see as little failures and turning them into ways to succeed. Turning them into lessons that will help us in the future. Failing forward is something that you should start thinking about. In fact, this should be your new mantra. Fear not, fail often. Fail often. The more times you fail, the better chances you have of succeeding. In sales, if I didn't want to fail, I wouldn't be in sales. Because that first time I heard no, I'd be like, oh, I'm done. No more. And guess what? You hear a lot of no's in sales. If you're batting, 100 in sales, you're doing a great job. That's on a scale of 1,000 for those of you who are baseball people. 1 out of 10. If you get 1 out of 10 yeses, you're a total rock star. I probably bat 1 out of 50. That means I get 49 no's. So when I hear the word no, I'm like, yes. Fewer no's to a yes, right? That's exciting to me. Closer to a yes. Most people are like, I don't like no. I don't even hear no anymore. Not yet. Fear not, fail often. Now at first, don't go buy a motorcycle and jump off a huge jump, okay? Fail small at first, get good at it. Okay? Just get on a motorcycle and at the dealership be like, yeah, it's pretty awesome, I didn't fall down. Start slow, but work up fast, okay? Beautiful picture. Soothing. Like, I wish I was there. No, instead you're going to go outside and it's going to be a little chillier than you think it's going to be windy. If it's not, enjoy that. Well, this is a really beautiful picture unless, what? Unless you live in a hut or a cave and you don't have a source of light except the sun. Because darkness, guess what that means? Saber-tooth tigers. All right, and everyone's like, that's funny. Oh yeah, because we have light. Right? Well, what if you didn't? This wouldn't be so beautiful. This would be like, okay, we might as well go to sleep because we're going to have to get up early. Because if we don't get eaten at night, we're going to be chased in the morning. And so somebody had the idea, well, wait a second. How can we make it so that we can have light when it's dark outside? And other people are like, that's crazy talk. You don't do that. And I'm like, no, for real, we could do that. Well, then, at some point in the history, we learned how to make candles. Actually, it was the Chinese who figured out how to make candles first. Apparently, all you need to do is melt a whale down, and candles come out. And the tough part is catching a whale, right? It was like, come on, no, it's just fired not that hot. Right? And then you have a candle. And the candle's really cool. Right? And you have a source of light. And you're all wondering, where is it going with this? It's melting a whale into a candle? Well, I'll tell you where I'm going. I just want you to think about light for a minute. And I want you to think about, not candles, I want you to think about light bulbs. So, and then answer this question in your brain, don't say it out loud. Who was the first person that had an idea for a light bulb? The first person that had the idea for a light bulb. The answer is nobody knows. Or many, many people is another answer. Because we don't really know who had the idea for the light bulb. Because a whole bunch of people did. Because people were sitting around like, do you know how hard it is to melt a whale down? This is no fun at all. We should have a light bulb, like something that is just, it's glass maybe, and it has light inside it. And we use it all the time. And that happened all over the place. See, because the thing is, that's great, it's an idea. But without this guy, Thomas Edison, we wouldn't have a light bulb. Pretty sure that's a light bulb. Hold up. Thomas Edison isn't the one who had the idea. Thomas Edison is the one who spent 10,000 times making a light bulb, who failed a gazillion times. He did the hard work. Okay, so my point is, ideas are free and easy. Everybody's got ideas, everybody's got great ideas. Everybody in this room has a bazillion great ideas, don't you? And guess what? Without actually making the light bulb, those ideas are nothing. You're just that person, like, I had that idea once. Oh, I'm that person. And I've been that person. And so what you've got to work on is taking that step from idea, cool, and weird how it's a light bulb, huh? It's like a light bulb went on. To practice. How am I going to make that idea happen? That's the hard work. That's the 10,000 tries. And by the way, he had the idea for the filament really close to Laramie. Isn't that crazy? Did you know that? People that take my class like, yeah, I would do that. I know that story. South of Saratoga and Camden is where Thomas Edison had the idea for the filament. Apparently he was fly fishing, broke his bamboo rod, a little shard of bamboo came on, made that work. Crazy, huh? And I'm not even making that part up. A lot of other things, I'm going to totally make that up. 26 year old body. That part is real, okay? As far as I know. They have a big plaque and everything. But you've got to work to take an idea to actual fruition. Otherwise, it's just something you're talking about with your friends. And they're going, oh no, it's not going crazy jobs as ideas. Talk a little bit about customer service. We should frame customer up real quick. A customer is anybody who you are working with. That could be your boss, your spouse, your kids, your friends. It could be your customer. But there are people who deserve stuff from you, and they expect a certain level of treatment. And what they usually get is this. And if you go to any airport in the world, you see this a lot. I've been in a lot of airports. I'm pretty sure I know that guy. This is just an image from Google, but I'm pretty sure I could have taken it. Right? And a lot of times you see it, it's much more animated. He's just like, oh my gosh, and then, but other times it's like, right? Because why? The airlines don't make it all that easy sometimes. But when you're thinking about your customers, and that could be your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend, your friends, your kids, your boss, your customer, the trick is to make it as easy as possible for them to succeed. If you make it easy for them, they will help you by paying you in whatever currency that is. When I think about companies that make it easy for me, I think about this one. Now, 5 years ago, you said, hey, I'm ordering some shoes online. You'd be like, what? You're doing what? You have to try them on. What if they don't fit you? You have to pay shipping back. It's going to take you like a week to get them. There were a million reasons why buying shoes online was a pain in the butt. And Zappos instead said, we're going to make it easy. Now it's so easy to buy shoes. You get them the next day. I can order them right now. Seriously, I still have time. I have an hour and a half. I know that up. And I will have them tomorrow if I pay $10 more for Saturday shipping. Sorry. Thought I was going to do this speech on Thursday. I'll have them tomorrow. I can try them on. If I don't like them, guess what? Zappos says, we'll cover the shipping back. It's easy. Now, think about when somebody has asked you to do something. Do you make it as easy as Zappos makes it? You're in a group setting, you're working on a project, and somebody says, hey, we need you to do this. And you're like, what about April? She's not doing anything. How about JoJo? Is he doing anything? Do you make it Zappos easy? You got to. When you go get your job, or when you have your relationship, you've got to make it Zappos easy. Because somebody else will. I guarantee it. And they will take your job, or they'll take your girlfriend. That's just the way it works. Okay. We don't want that. So work on making it easy. It's harder on you, by the way. Way harder for you to make it easy. But the payoff is big. This is one of my favorites now. When I was a kid, when I was your age, there wasn't this thing called the internet. Okay? Then Al Gore invented it, and it all worked out. But So back in the day when we still chiseled stuff out of stone, your resume was your resume. That's how it was. But not anymore. Not anymore. Does your resume even matter? In fact, if you want to waste a whole lot of time, do a resume. You're like, what? I got a whole class on that. You know, your account some 40 times in the last 3 months. I know, sorry. You're like, why could you have done this in the beginning of the semester? Because your resume isn't your resume anymore. So what I'm suggesting you do is Google yourself. Not in public. It can be a little bit embarrassing if you get caught Googling yourself in public. It's a little odd. You're like, what's he doing? He's Googling himself. Oh, gosh. Okay? Now, I've never been caught, but I know a guy who has, and it's embarrassing. This is your new resume, folks. So when I get a resume in and I'm hiring, guess how much of it I read? Your name. That's the first thing I read, and the first thing I do is fire Google. On mine, I dial up still. Kind of old school, I read it. But I fire this baby up, and I just type in your name. And guess what I find? All kinds of cool stuff. Holy mackerel, you guys live exciting lives. Little story, last year at this time I was hiring for a sales position, and I put resumes in and started Googling those, found some people's favorite sites like Facebook and MySpace and Twitter, and you learn all kinds of stuff about people from those sites. And one of the people that didn't even get called for an interview but did get a chuckle and a story told about them a year later is somebody who put as their like on their MySpace page that they like pot. So their resume was apparently glowing, and I'm pretty sure it didn't include the word pot. But MySpace was like, I love pot. And they're like, you're not working with me. It's just how it goes. Right? So this is your new resume, or at least a big component of it. So if you've got the party pics out there, think twice. Unless they're really real parties. Or unless you're going for like some sort of job that encourages that, which is, maybe that could be cool too. But think about what you're putting out there. Okay, so that's the bad side, right? That's the reason that you might not get a job. But what about why you could get a job? What about the content that could help you get a job? What about the content that somebody Googles you and they don't even read your resume anymore because they have so much cool stuff about you on the internet that they want to hire you that second? Isn't that what we should be going for? Isn't that the content that we should put out there? Why not? You could do it. You could do blog posts that are about marketing. You could do blog posts that are about cool things that you've seen in business and how they can change and how they can make it better. You can put your papers out there. Not only would your mom like to read them, but your future employers would too. So think about the cool stuff that you can put out there and help you get a job. Because writing it on your resume doesn't make it so. But it turns out putting it out on the internet does. Now, all that talk about Googling. You're like, what? It's okay. We'll all come together again. I don't want you to take a cold shower for that reason. What I want you to take a cold shower for is, you know that little moment before you get into a cold shower, or you jump in a cold pool, where you're like, I don't know if I really want to do this. I'm kind of second guessing this decision, right? And it usually happens right when you start to touching, like, whoa, that's colder than I thought it was going to be. That's actually a really good thing to overcome. To be able to just step in and take a cold shower. To be able to just jump in a cold stream. Don't dive in first. But what stops us from doing that is called the flinch, right? And again, it's the thing that saved us from saber-toothed tigers. I know, anytime you say saber-toothed tiger, people get it. It's a word that people are like, that's not even a real animal. An alligator or whatever it was. But it was one of those things that we needed a long, long time ago when we lived in country. But now, how often do you really need to flinch? And here's the thing. The better you get at overcoming the flinch, the better you're going to be at trying new things. The better you're going to be at being creative. The more likely you're going to be to succeed. Because that flinch is another chain upon your creativity and upon you that you put in place. Cold showers are not evil. In fact, they're super invigorating. Holy mackerel. They're like, yeah, but when's the last time you took a shower? Yesterday I took a cold shower just so that I could say that in today's, no. I did because it's like, cold shower can't hurt me. It's a little cold. It's a cold shower. I'd be disappointed if it wasn't. But we've got to work to overcome that flinch, and it's about facing the difficult things in your life. And the less you do that, the more you let that flinch take over, and the less you face the difficult stuff, the easier it becomes to live a soft and easy life that you don't really get much out of. Because guess what? Life isn't like that. You have to face difficult stuff. The better you are at it, the better off you're going to be. Here's a book that will help you with that. It's called The Flinch. Here. It's free. $0. You have a Kindle app on anything, and I think you pretty much do. You should. It's $0, but it's such a good book. It tells you all kinds of practical ways that you can get over the flinch, and why you should. $0. That's why it's not a textbook. Here's another thing I noticed. Sometimes it is me. A lot of people are like, oh, it's not you, it's the job. It wasn't you, it was that girl was a mess. No, sometimes it is you. In fact, here's the common theme about everything in your life. I'm going to talk about the bad stuff right now. All of the bad things in your life that happen, guess what the common theme is? Yeah, I know. People that get it are like, oh, it was me. I was a big piece of that. Probably about 60%. You might just be the reason things didn't work out. You're like, well, wait a second, I thought this was supposed to be motivational. I don't really use my self-confidence a hit. Okay, it might. But what I'm asking you to do is take a look in the mirror and realize that there are things that you can change. Now, this dude doesn't need to change. I get one line. This is a Google image. But there are things that you can change about yourself, and there are things that you should reflect on and say, it was probably me. And instead of being demotivational or hurt your self-esteem, what it becomes is super empowering. You're like, wait a second. So you're saying I can control all this stuff? That I'm the one who can actually make a difference in my interactions with people, or my interactions with my boss, or how I succeed in a company? Yeah, crazy, huh? You are the one. In fact, you are the only thing that you can control. The sooner you get that you are the only thing you can control, the better off you're going to be. You can't control how your girlfriend or boyfriend responds to things. You can't control what happens at your company. Or very little anyway. But you can't control how you react to things. You can't control what you bring to the table. And those are the things that make it super empowering. So saying, maybe it is me, and maybe I need to reflect upon myself, is actually really good. And you're probably going to be asked in an interview, what are some of your strengths and weaknesses? A few of your weaknesses that are not weaknesses that you should never say are your weaknesses, I work too much. You know, I'm just one of those people who I give my all the time. And that's a weakness? You're like, what? How's that a weakness? Or, you know, I'm just one of those people. I take things, you know, I take them seriously, and I'm a real perfectionist. That's my weakness. Huh? And you're thinking to yourself, oh man, I said that. And what that tells people is, and it's okay because you're young, is that chances are you're not that mature. Because you haven't really reflected upon yourself in a realistic way and said, what are the things that you could really work on? Because it's okay to have weaknesses. In fact, it's encouraged because you're human, you know you have them. We want to know if you're working on them. We want to know if you can reflect and say, here's how I'm going to change it. Not, I don't have it. Perfectionism is my weakness. Okay, now we've seen some of those shows on TV about obsessed, and those folks, maybe it is a weakness. But for all of us, no. For regular peeps. Not like that. So how do we achieve greatness? Achieving greatness is something that we all can do. I really believe in that. I believe that everybody has the ability and the potential to be great at something. Okay? So I'm going to walk you through a little thing about greatness and how I think it works. This is Vince Carter. And for those of you who know basketball, know that when Vince Carter came out of college, Vince Carter was amazing. in terms of skill, I don't think anybody has the basketball skill that Vince Carter has. It's just truly amazing. I mean, sure, all of us can do this, but he can do a lot of other things, too. Amazing amount of skill. Crazy amount of skill. Now, here's the opposite end of that spectrum. I don't know if anybody has seen this movie, Rudy. It's a really old movie. It came out before you were born. But it's about a kid who loved football, had an incredible passion for football, but no ability. None. And he wanted to play for Notre Dame, who, again, before you were born, was like a superpower in football. And so he wanted to play for this amazing team, but he was terrible. And everybody said he can't do it. But he had this huge heart and this huge passion for the game, and he wanted to do it. So the story goes that he did, right? Okay, so he's got all heart, no ability. Vince Carter's got a ton of ability and probably a little heart, but not as much as some. And so if we kind of put these two on a spectrum and compare them, it's interesting because we know people like this, right? Now, here's a twist. What if they had a baby? Sure, the imagery is a little odd. But, like, you know, extrapolate it a little bit, get above it and say, what would happen? This is what would happen. Yeah, Michael Jordan is the baby of Vince Carter. It's magical. This is what happens when extreme ability meets extreme drive and motivation and heart and passion. This is what happens when passion meets ability. Michael Jordan happens. You're like, yeah, but that's Michael Jordan. I'm not Michael Jordan. No. Well, even if you are, if your name's that, I mean, it's like, oh, that's cool. It's going to get you an interview. But let's say you're not. Let's say you're not Michael Jordan. I kind of disagree. I kind of think everybody in here has that. Maybe Vince Carter has it. He just doesn't have it in basketball. So maybe that's not where his passion. Imagine he had that. All of us have something that we're passionate about. And all of us have abilities. And the key is to work really, really hard to make those two work together. If you can take your passion and your abilities and make them together, you will have greatness. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the Michael Jordan of sales or anything, but I'd sure like to be. That would be awesome, right? That would be my goal. If I could do that, that'd be great. I want people to look at me and say, Josh is the Michael Jordan of salespeople at our company. Granted, I'm the only salesperson at our company. That's because I'm the Michael. No, I'm just kidding. Now, I would not have been the Michael Jordan of the experience, ever. Because I had ability, I could do the math, but I didn't really want to. So I found the thing that I loved, and it turns out I had an ability in it too. And I worked on it, and I strengthened those abilities. And I'm an okay salesperson. And everybody in here has that same ability to be great at something. But you have to realize you own that. You have that passion. Chase it and work on your ability. Now, this is something that I put out there in every presentation I ever do. You should learn to present. Whenever I'm getting ready to do a presentation, I channel this speech, the I have a dream speech. And some of you will be like, oh, that's kind of cocky, like you're doing a, I have a dream speech. No, what I'm saying is, this is a really powerful speech. And this is something that I think people have lost over time. That presentations should be a lot more than they are. I think they should motivate. I think they should take people and put them in a different place. And I think they should be different than what you've seen. This was pretty powerful. I think everybody in the room can agree, a big deal, right? Now, what if I asked you to do the I have a dream speech? This is what I get. You give me a PowerPoint, and you use the laser pointer. Let's see if I can. I don't know how to use the laser pointer. And you do this. See, I have a dream, folks. And it's a dream deeply rooted in the American dream, because none of you can read. See, that's what you don't know. As a presenter, you're like, I'm doing them a favor. This is like second grade. You're reading this story that one made a station will rise up and learn about the true meaning of its creed. And you're like, thank you. Goodness gracious, that's helpful. No, it's not. It's condescending. Bullet points are bad, folks. Really bad. Let's contrast. Civil rights would be a little different if Microsoft had been around when Martin Luther King Jr. had, if he had that tool. Imagine, it would be totally different and crappy. Instead, thank goodness he didn't have PowerPoint. You all do. We can use PowerPoint in such a better way if we take the focus off of the slide and the focus on the person. Okay? You are presenting. You're not reading a slide. If you want to read to people, get a job as a librarian in an elementary school. It's a noble job. It's the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. But that's not what you're doing. You're presenting. And it's much more important. You're like, Josh, really? Really? It's a Monday sales meeting. I'm not changing the world. Why not? Why not make the Monday sales meeting really good? You think people are like, oh man, Smither's second bullet point was awesome. Oh, God. Really? First of all, your boss named Smithers. Smithers uses bullet points. Okay. So, see what happens if you don't. And for those of you who think Prezi is the answer, all you're inviting people to do is grab a vomit bag. Have you ever noticed when you're like, whoa, hey, dude, I can't read and spin at the same time. And then there's those waivers for pregnant people or people with heart trouble. That's a nightmare. That's why Prezi is, use it wisely. So over time, I'm pretty sure I stole this from many of the books that I've read, but I came up with what I call the mastery philosophy. It's a 4-step process for mastering just about anything. And the first step is opening your mind. And I'm showing a picture of the brain, but it's not really the brain's problem. It's actually your attitude. Your attitude needs to accept that you may not know everything, that you may need to take in more information, be good at something, that you might just have to learn. Okay? And that leads you to the second step, which is learning. Right? You're not really good at that. That's what you do here. You learn. And you've learned a whole bunch, packed a ton into your brains. So you're good at this step. Many people are great at this step. There are tons of people who will tell you how to lose weight, they'll tell you how to make $1 million, they'll tell you how to study for a test, they'll tell you all these things. They're really knowledgeable about how to do something, but they're not as good at this. Just do it. Right? That's the third step. Third step. I counted out for me there. Just doing it is the hardest part. That's the place that people stop. They're like, oh, I learned it. Now I'm really, popular at dinner parties. I've never actually been to a dinner party, if you have. If I were, I would have all kinds of information, right? But who wants that? Why are you going to learn a whole bunch of information if you're not going to use it? And that's the piece where people stop. They stop and they don't just do it. Now, I'm really lucky. I sit next to a gentleman who can read a piece of information. He opens his mind and he reads information, and he immediately takes that information and puts it into practice. It is so inspirational and it's so helpful to me, because I was one of those people who just like to learn it. But he takes it and does it. Guess what? The more you just do that, it's not that hard. And your life changes in a great way. You're not just full of a bunch of useless information. You're actually somebody who takes that information and makes it into practice. Now, if you do that long enough, if you continue to learn and put it into practice long enough, this is what the graph looks like. And I have to put a graph in. It's part of the engineering degree. You have to put a graph or some sort of math into a presentation, or they take your diploma away. Not that I can find mine, but they can come and find it. Okay? So here's the way it works. If this is your life trajectory toward mastery, the more time and effort that you spend on that, the greater your skill will be. Okay? And at first, you make a lot of great gains. It's really cool. And then over time, the gains become smaller but very meaningful. If anybody follows the game of golf, the difference between the #1 golfer in the world and the 100th golfer in the world is like less than a stroke. 1 stroke, less. That's amazing, right? That's #1 versus 100. We don't even have 100 states, right? Crazy. So those things are meaningful up above, but you've got to keep working. You've got to keep learning. Now, mastery is an asymptote. You guys are like, yeah, that's right. Of course it is. Business majors. Some of us came from the College of Engineering. Mastery is an asymptote. So you'll never really be a master, and the closer you get to it, the more you realize that you'll never really be a master. Now, when you're down here, you're like, oh, someday I'm going to master that. No, you're not. And the smarter you get, the more you realize that. Okay? And I also have another rule that I have to say asymptote in every presentation. Rule of happiness. Okay? This is why we do it, right? Hopefully you're doing this so that you can achieve happiness. And this is a big deal for me. Happiness is a big deal for me. And your happiness is a big deal for me. I want all of you to achieve happiness. There's a bunch of happy people. Now this person's probably not going to be that happy because I think he's going to get candy. Maybe stretch. Sometimes if you don't stretch or you're really happy, you can hurt yourself. I hope that doesn't happen. But here's what we do as humans. We postpone our happiness. Right? I'm going to be happy when I graduate. I'm going to be happy when I get that first job. I'm going to be happy when I get married. I'm going to be happy when I have kids. I'm going to be happy when I get that first paycheck. I'm going to be happy at the end of the month, beginning of the month, whatever. We postpone it. It's what we do. Right? Because I've got to grind it out right now. Just grind it out this semester. But I'm going to be happy when I graduate. So basically what you're saying is you're going to take a big old chunk of your life and you're going to grind it out for that chance that you might be happy when something happens. And I was that way. And then I realized, wait a second, I'm taking a whole bunch of my life and I'm not really all that happy about it and grinding it out so that I can have happiness at this point. And that didn't make any sense to me, and I thought, well, why not have happiness all the time? Right? Why not be happy now? I know, novel, you're like, nobody ever said it. You can. If you think about it, really, what troubles do you have? Saber and tiger. What troubles do we really have? Yeah, you should achieve. You should work on achieving things. You should work on becoming better. But that doesn't have to mean your happiness gets postponed to some magical moment. Because what you find out is those little moments aren't that magical. And they're definitely not worth all of the pain and misery. So you might as well be happy now, and then be super happy at that time. You might even jump up and down. So the thing I'd like you to think about is that if you keep learning, and you progressively realize worthy ideals, you can be happy now, and still achieve a great level of success. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you all for coming. Josh, thank you very much. That was wonderful. Again, this was something special. Hope you guys took away, something important, something that means something to you. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Josh will be down here to answer them. If not, you guys have a wonderful day and find your happiness.